If you have noticed a ringing in your left ear that starts precisely at sunset and fades by twilight, if you find yourself waking up between 3 and 4 in the morning with a sensation of electricity running down your spine or a sudden heaviness in your chest that medical professionals cannot diagnose, if you were born between the years of 1972 and 2001, then you are not suffering from insomnia. You are not suffering from anxiety. You are currently undergoing what the sleeping prophet himself, Edgar Cayce, referred to as the vibrational shedding. You have been drawn to this recording because your spirit is already sensing the approach of the massive energetic horizon line that is the year 2026. Most people believe that fatigue is simply a result of working too hard or sleeping too little. But Cayce accessed the Akashic records, the universal supercomputer of every thought and action ever occurred, and he revealed a terrifyingly simple truth about human vitality. He taught us that the physical body is merely a shell for the electrical body. And right now, as you listen to my voice, you are leaking. Imagine a vessel of pure golden light. That is you. That is your birthright. Now imagine 3 distinct punctures in the bottom of that vessel. No matter how much you meditate, no matter how many organic greens you eat, no matter how often you pray or manifest, you cannot fill a cup that has holes in the bottom. We are entering Act 1 of your diagnosis, the invisible leaks. This is not about psychology. This is about physics, spiritual physics. Edgar Cayce predicted that in the years leading up to the great shift of the mid-20s, the polarization of the earth would force a separation of souls. He called this the wheat and the chaff. You are feeling exhausted because you are currently functioning as a battery for people who have refused to generate their own connection to the source. You are not tired. You are being fed upon. If you have ever walked away from a conversation with a specific friend or family member and felt the sudden need to take a nap, or felt a headache bloom behind your eyes instantly, that was not a conversation, that was a harvesting. The Akashic records suggest that we are tethered to the people in our lives, not just by emotion, but by literal etheric cords. Invisible optical fibers that transmit energy back and forth. When the relationship is balanced, the energy flows in a loop, infinite, sustainable. But there are 3 specific archetypes of people, 3 specific vibrational signatures that act as a vacuum. They take the life force intended for your destiny, and they use it to sustain their stagnation. This is critical to understand before we approach the threshold of 2026. Because where we are going, you cannot carry dead weight. The atmosphere is getting thinner, metaphorically speaking. The spiritual pressure is rising. If you try to cross the bridge into the new era while dragging these energetic anchors, you will not just be tired, you will collapse. Cayce warned us about the leaky. He described it as a fissure in the electromagnetic field that surrounds the human body. When you allow these specific individuals access to your inner sanctum, you are essentially leaving the front door of your house open in the middle of a winter storm. You are heating the neighborhood while freezing yourself. This is why your manifestations have stalled. This is why you feel a brain fog that coffee cannot touch. This is why you feel a persistent low-grade sorrow that does not belong to you. Because it truly does not belong to you. You are processing the karmic waste of the people you are afraid to cut off. You have been told that being a good person means being available to everyone. But the readings of Edgar Cayce suggest a different definition of goodness. He taught that your first responsibility is to the God force within you. To keep your temple clean, to keep your light undimmed, if you are giving your light away to those who refuse to ignite their own. You are not helping them. You are enabling their darkness, and you are dimming the lighthouse that was meant to guide others. This is the hard truth of the transition we are in. The universe is forcing you into a corner. Have you felt it? The isolation. The feeling that you no longer resonate with your old circles. The feeling that conversations which used to be fun now feel shallow and draining. This is not depression. This is recalibration. Your soul is trying to seal the leaks. It is trying to show you who the siphons are. There are 3 specific types of people you must identify and release before the calendar turns to 2026. If you bring them with you, they will anchor you to the old 3-dimensional reality, a reality of fear, scarcity, and conflict. But if you release them, if you seal the vessel, Cayce promised a surge of vitality that defies biological age. He spoke of a second wind of the spirit, where the pituitary and pineal glands reactivate, where intuition becomes instant knowing, where fatigue is replaced by a buzzing, constant electric joy. This is the state you were designed for, but you cannot reach it while you are bleeding energy. We are about to identify these 3 individuals. You likely already see their faces in your mind's eye. Trust that image. That is your higher self whispering the truth you have been too polite to acknowledge. We are going to walk through the diagnostics of the soul siphon, the drama weaver, and the skeptic anchor. But first, you must make a declaration to your subconscious mind. You must give your spirit permission to prioritize its own survival. I need you to signal to the universe that you are ready to close the leaks. I need you to affirm your status as a keeper of the light, not a food source for the dark. Go to the comments below right now and write this simple command. I seal my energy field now. Write it. I seal my energy field now. Do not just think it, inscribe it. When you type it, you are taking a thought from the ether and grounding it into physical reality. You are signing a contract with your future self. I seal my energy field now, because what I am about to reveal regarding the first person you must eliminate, the one Cayce identified as the most dangerous to your spiritual growth, will likely shock you. It is often the person closest to you. It is often the person you think you are helping the most. But in the eyes of the Akashic records, this help is a poison. Let us look at the first leak, the architect of chaos. Edgar Cayce often spoke of the sympathetic nervous system and its relationship to the soul. He described how constant stress creates an acidic environment in the body, literally corroding the nerves. The first person you must remove from your life in 2026 is the person who is addicted to crisis. You know who this is. This is the person whose life is a perpetual emergency. Every time the phone rings and you see their name, your stomach tightens. Not because you do not love them, but because your body remembers the trauma of their last crisis. They do not want solutions. Have you noticed this? You offer them advice. You give them money. You give them your time. You listen for hours. And a week later, they are in the exact same situation. Cayce would say that this person is feeding on the energy of your pity. They are using your sympathetic vibration to validate their victimhood. They are not looking to be saved. They are looking for a witness to their suffering. And by witnessing it over and over again, you are agreeing to it. You are co-signing their reality. In the year 2026, the energies hitting the planet will be too high to sustain this kind of density. If you stay tethered to a crisis architect, Their chaotic frequency will scramble your own signal. You will find it impossible to hear your intuition. You will find it impossible to manifest peace, because your field is constantly rippling with their manufactured storms. Cutting this tie does not mean you are cruel. It means you are accepting that you cannot learn their lessons for them. Cayce taught that every soul chooses its trials. By constantly intervening, by constantly acting as the shock absorber for their chaos, you are actually interfering with their karma. You are robbing them of the rock bottom they need to hit in order to wake up. And you are exhausting your own reserves in a battle that is not yours to fight. This is the first leak, the leak of sympathy without detachment. But the second person is even more subtle, and perhaps even more draining. This is the person who targets your dreams, not with anger, but with doubt. We call this the anchor of mediocrity. Edgar Cayce was a man who believed in the impossible. He believed in the infinite potential of the human mind to heal itself and shape reality. He taught that doubt is a physical block, a literal obstruction in the flow of the creative force. If you have someone in your circle who smiles when you share your big vision, but then immediately follows it with a realistic warning, are you sure that is? Do you really think you can do that at your nobody makes money doing? These are not words of caution. These are spells. These are verbal curses cast to keep you small. Because if you expand, if you succeed, it forces them to look at their own stagnation. They are comfortable in the known, and your desire for the unknown terrifies them. So they try to anchor you. They try to make you heavy, so you cannot fly away and leave them behind. In the vibration of 2026, thoughts will manifest into things faster than ever before. This is the quickening that the mystics spoke of. If you have a voice in your ear constantly whispering failure, constantly whispering limitation, that will become your reality. You cannot afford to have a skepticism broadcast running in the background of your mind. You need believers. You need amplifiers. You need people who look at your wildest idea and say, yes. And here is how we go. If you leave a lunch with a friend feeling smaller than when you arrived, that is a leak. That is an anchor. And the chain must be cut. But the third person is the most difficult to identify, because they often disguise themselves as a mentor, or a spiritual guide, or a deeply concerned relative. This is the energy vampire of control. Cayce spoke frequently about the free will is the greatest gift given to humanity by the Creator. Anyone who tries to override your free will, anyone who tries to make you feel guilty for making choices that serve you, is violating a cosmic law. This is the person who uses obligation as a weapon. After everything I did for, if you loved me, you would do. This is conditional love. This is a transaction, not a connection. They are siphoning your autonomy. They are feeding on your obedience. As we approach the shift, the frequency of freedom is becoming paramount. You are being called to become the sovereign authority of your own life. You can no longer make decisions based on fear of disappointing someone else. If your path to the light disappoints them, then it is their darkness that is disappointed, not their soul. You must learn to distinguish between the voice of your heart and the voice of their guilt tripping. These three archetypes, the crisis architect, the skeptic anchor, and the controller. They are the three holes in your golden vessel, and you have a choice to make. You can continue to try to fill a broken cup, running faster and faster on the hamster wheel of exhaustion, wondering why you never feel fully alive. Or you can do the brave work, the training of the silence, as Cayce might call it. You can withdraw your energy. You do not have to have a dramatic confrontation. You do not have to fight. You simply stop feeding the beast. You stop answering the crisis calls with panic. You stop sharing your dreams with the doubters. You stop explaining yourself to the controllers. You seal the leaks. And you watch what happens to your energy in the next 30 days. You will feel a returning, a gathering of your forces. Your sleep will deepen. That ringing in your ear will turn from a warning siren into a download of clarity. The heaviness in your chest will lift, replaced by a feeling of expansion. You are preparing for 2026. You are building the ark of your own consciousness, and it must be watertight. But there is a specific method to cutting these cords without creating karmic backlash, a technique Cayce hinted at in his readings on protection and prayer. It involves a specific visualization involving the color violet and the ancient practice of returning to sender with, if you cut the cord with anger, you simply create a new cord of anger. You must cut it with neutrality. I'm going to explain exactly how to perform this etheric surgery in the next section. But first, I need to know who you are. I need to know if you are one of the ancient souls who has felt this drain for decades, if you have felt like a stranger in your own family, if you have always been the black sheep because you refuse to play the game of energy manipulation, then you are exactly who needs to hear this. You are not the black sheep. You are the cycle breaker. Confirm your mission. If you are ready to stop the leaks and reclaim your power before the shift. Comment below. I am the breaker of, let the algorithm know that you are waking up. Let the universe know you are done being food. I am the breaker of, now. Let us discuss the technique of the violet sheath and how to protect yourself when these three people inevitably try to claw their way back in. Because they will. When a food source tries to walk away. The hungry do not just let it go. Here is how you stand your ground. But before we can weave that protective violet sheath around your etheric body, we must identify exactly what you are protecting yourself from. You cannot build a fortress if you do not know the face of the invader. And in the readings of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, there is a terrifying clarity about the company we keep. He did not just speak of castor oil packs and spinal alignments. He spoke of soul entanglements. He spoke of the specific vibrations that act as lead weights on the ankles of an ascending soul. As we approach the vibrational shift of 2026, the veil is thinning, and this thinning reveals the true nature of those around you. You have likely felt it. A sudden repulsion toward someone you have known for 20 years. A physical nausea when a certain name appears on your phone screen. This is not social anxiety. This is your cellular memory rejecting a parasite. Cayce warned us that as we move toward the Aquarian age, the separation between the wheat and the chaff would become absolute. There are three specific archetypes. Three distinct energy signatures that the readings suggest act as the unholy trinity of spiritual stagnation. These are not bad people in the traditional sense. They may be your mother, your childhood best friend, your spouse. But in the physics of the spirit, they are anchors. And if you try to fly while tethered to an anchor, you do not just fail to launch, you tear yourself apart. Let us look into the Akashic mirror and identify the first of these three. The first archetype is the siphon, also known in the esoteric circles as the crisis you know this soul. They operate on a frequency of perpetual chaos. Every time you speak to them, there is a new catastrophe, a new illness, a new injustice that the world has inflicted upon them. If you have a headache, they have a brain tumor. If you had a bad day, They have had a bad life. Cayce described this dynamic as a literal transfer of vital force. When you engage with the siphon, you are not having a conversation. You are undergoing a transfusion. They are hooking into your solar plexus chakra, the center of your personal will and vitality, and they are drinking. Notice how you feel after interacting with them. Do you feel heavy? Do your eyes feel dry and tired? Do you feel a sudden drop in blood sugar or a craving for carbohydrates? This is physiological evidence of spiritual theft. The siphon does not want your advice. They do not want a solution. If you solve their problem, you cut off their food supply. They need the problem to exist so they can feed on your sympathy, your energy, your light. For years you have told yourself that you are being a good person by listening, by helping, by carrying their load. But the readings are clear. By allowing the siphon to feed on you, you are not helping them. You are enabling their karmic stagnation. You are preventing them from learning the lesson of self-sufficiency. You are acting as a crutch for a soul that needs to learn to walk. And in 2026, you will need every ounce of your solar plexus energy to navigate the changes. You cannot afford to carry a leak in your fuel tank. Now we move to the second archetype. The anchor, or the materialist. This entity is dangerous because they often disguise themselves as the voice of reason. They cloak their fear in logic. This is the person who scoffs when you mention meditation, who rolls their eyes when you speak of your dreams, who demands scientific proof for the things you feel in your soul. To the naked eye, they seem grounded, stable, but in the realm of the unseen. Their vibration is incredibly dense. It is a low, slow hum. Cayce spoke often of the spiritual North Star that guides a soul. The anchor has severed their connection to their own ideal, and seeing you connect to yours triggers a deep, subconscious terror in them. Your expansion highlights their contraction. Your flight highlights their cage. So they try to pull you back down, not out of malice, but out of a desperate need to validate their own limitations. They will say things like, "Be," or "You are," or "Who do you think you?" They are attacking your third eye, your center of vision and intuition. They are trying to calcify your pineal gland with the heavy frequency of doubt. If you are a starseed, a light worker, or simply a sensitive soul, prolonged exposure to the anchor is lethal to your purpose. They act as a suppressor field, damping your frequency until you forget who you are, until you forget that you came here for a mission, and you start to believe that you are just a body paying bills and waiting to die. You cannot ascend if you are constantly arguing for the validity of your own existence. And finally, we arrive at the third and most dangerous archetype, the mimic, the false light. This is the hardest tie to cut, because this person looks like an ally. They dress like you. They talk like you. They may even claim to be on the same spiritual path as you. But listen to your gut. There is a coldness behind their eyes, a subtle disconnect. When you share good news, watch their face for the microsecond of disappointment before they smile. When you stumble, feel the subtle vibration of satisfaction emanating from them. The mimic is driven by spiritual envy. They want your light, but they do not want to do the shadow work required to generate their own. So they attach themselves to you, mimicking your movements, adopting your language, copying your style. Cayce warned of entities that seek to ride the wake of more advanced souls. They are drafting behind you, using your momentum to propel themselves forward while simultaneously dragging you back. They will often praise you in public, but undermine you in private. They will sow seeds of doubt about you to others, all while calling you sister or, "This is a heart chakra attack." It is a betrayal of intimacy, and it is toxic because it forces you to keep your guard up in your own sanctuary. If you have to monitor your words, if you have to shrink your joy so as not to trigger their jealousy, if you feel like you are walking on eggshells around someone who is supposed to be your tribe, that is a mimic. And as we enter the cycle of 2026, the energies are becoming too intense for fakery. The mimic will be exposed, but if you are still tied to them when the tower falls, you may get hit by the debris. The Akashic records do not judge these souls. They are simply at a different stage of development. But just because you do not judge a drowning man does not mean you let him pull you under. Your first responsibility is to the integrity of your own vessel. Edgar Cayce said that spirit is the life, mind is the builder, and the physical is the... If you allow these three archetypes to inhabit your life, they corrupt the spirit, they cloud the mind, and the result is physical illness, anxiety, and a life lived off course. You have been feeling the urge to distance yourself. You have felt the guilt, the obligation, the fear of being alone. But the solitude you fear is actually the clean slate you need. It is better to walk alone in the light than to walk in a crowd toward a cliff. We are about to discuss the specific visualization technique Cayce hinted at for sealing your aura after you cut these cords. But first, you must make the declaration. You must signal to your subconscious mind that you are ready to release the weight, that you are done playing the role of the battery, the punching bag, and the host. If you recognize one of these three people in your life, and if you are brave enough to choose your mission over your history, I need you to confirm it now. Leave a comment below. I choose my own. Say it, write it, own it. I choose my own. Once you have done that, we can proceed to the reconstruction, to the sealing of the leaks, and the activation of your true power. Prepare yourself. The surgery is over. Now the healing begins. Now that you have spoken those words into existence, now that you have staked your claim on your own frequency, you might feel a sudden resistance, a tightness in the chest, a shallowing of the breath. This is expected. It is the phantom limb of the parasite fighting to stay attached. Because what the modern psychologists call codependency, Edgar Cayce identified as something far more visceral in the readings. He saw it as literal etheric plumbing. When you have spent years, decades, perhaps even lifetimes connected to these energy vampires, you have effectively grown a third arm, an invisible conduit that routes your vitality directly into their spiritual reserve. Severing this does not just feel like a breakup, it feels like an amputation, and this is where the guilt enters. The guilt is the mechanism that keeps the conduit open. It is the lock on the door. And you have been holding the key without knowing it. We are now entering the sovereign protocol. This is the most dangerous part of the transition. Because your instinct will be to reach back, to check on them, to wonder if you were too harsh, to worry that they cannot survive without your light. Let me be very clear with you. They cannot survive without your light. That is the point. But you are not their battery. You are not their generator. And you are certainly not their savior. Cayce spoke often of the pattern. Mind is if you build your life on the foundation that you are responsible for the emotional regulation of another human being, you are violating a fundamental spiritual law. You are robbing them of their karma. You are stealing their necessary struggle. When you carry the stone for someone else, they never develop the muscles to carry it themselves. You are not helping them. You are crippling them. And you are exhausting yourself in the process. So how do we cut this cord? Not just mentally, but vibrationally. So that it never reattaches, we must utilize the science of the violet sheath. This is not a metaphor. This is spiritual physics. In the physical body, when you receive a cut, your blood platelets rush to the scene to form a scab, to seal the breach, to protect the interior from the exterior. Your spirit has a similar mechanism, but it requires your conscious will to activate it. Close your eyes for a moment if you are safe to do so, or simply soften your gaze. I want you to locate the point of connection. If it is the narcissist from the first group, you likely feel the cord in your solar plexus, the center of your power, the place they tried to hollow out. If it is the perpetual victim, the cord is likely in your heart center, tugging at your empathy. If it is the critic, the cord is often in the throat, choking your ability to speak your truth. Visualize this cord. See it as a dark, pulsing tube. It is gray and heavy. Do not be afraid of it. It has no power over you other than what you yield. Now, I want you to imagine a sword of electric blue light. This is the frequency of truth, the frequency of Archangel Michael, depending on your belief system, or simply the raw power of the universal will. With one decisive breath, you slice through the cord, sever it, watch it recoil. The end that was attached to them snaps back to them, and the end that was attached to you snaps back to you. But we are not done. This is where most people fail. This is where the infection returns. You have left an open wound in your aura, a raw spot where the energy is leaking out. You must apply the cauterization. This is the violet sheath. Imagine a liquid fire, a deep, royal violet, pouring down from the crown of your head. It is cool and soothing, yet it vibrates with an intensity that burns away all lower residue. Watch this violet liquid coat the place where you cut the cord. See it seal the gap. See it harden into a diamond-like shield. Edgar Cayce described the aura as the zone of when your aura is porous. You are influenced by every passing mood, every stray thought, every bit of negativity in the room. When you seal it with the violet sheath, you become sovereign. You are still compassionate. You are still kind. But you are no longer permeable. You are a lighthouse. A lighthouse stands on the rock. It shines the light. It guides the ships. But the lighthouse does not run down the stairs, jump into the ocean, and swim to the boat to try to row it for the captain. If the lighthouse did that, it would drown, and the light would go out for everyone else. You have been swimming to the boats for too long. It is time to climb back up the stairs. It is time to reignite the lamp. This process of becoming sovereign will change your biology. You may find that chronic fatigue vanishes within 72 hours. You may find that headaches you have had since 2015 suddenly dissipate. You may find that your phone stops ringing. This is the most startling side effect of the sovereign protocol. When you cut the feed, the parasites know. They feel the starvation immediately, and they will look for a new host. Do not take it personally when they disappear. Do not chase them. Celebrate the silence. The silence is the sound of your healing. But there is a final trap, a subtle back door that your ego will try to open. It is the trap of spiritual. You might begin to feel that you are better than them, that you are evolved, and they are stagnant. Cayce warned strictly against this. Self-righteousness, he said, is the same energy as hatred, just dressed in white If you look down on them, you reattach the cord. Judgment is a sticky substance. It binds you to the one you judge. So the final step of the protocol is the release. You must look at them, in your mind's eye, standing separate from you, encased in their own bubble, dealing with their own mess, and you must say, I release you to your own path. I return your lessons to you. I wish you evolution, but I do not wish you. I wish you evolution, but I do not wish you. Write that down. Tattoo it on your memory. You can love them from a distance. You can pray for them from a distance. But you cannot let them back into the sanctuary. The year 2026 is a vibration of 7 in numerology. It is a year of spiritual introspection, of refined truth. It will not tolerate fake relationships. It will not tolerate obligation disguised as love. Everything that is not authentic will crumble. You are simply collapsing the bridge before it falls on top of you. You are now standing in your own circle of light. The cords are cut. The wounds are sealed. But nature abhors a vacuum. Now that you have cleared this massive amount of space in your life, now that you have reclaimed the energy that was being siphoned off, what are you going to do with it? You have a surplus of power for the first time in years. If you do not direct it, it will turn into anxiety. It will turn into restlessness. You need a new directive, a new blueprint. Edgar Cayce spoke of the guiding star of the soul. In the final minutes of this transmission, we are going to install the new operating system. We are going to take that raw power and channel it into the one thing these people tried to keep you from finding: your purpose. If you are feeling a tingling in your hands or feet right now, if you feel a heat rising up your spine, that is the Kundalini force awakening. It is no longer being drained. It is rising. Do not click away. We are about to calibrate this energy. You are no longer a victim of your history. You are an architect of your future. Stay with me. The final activation is at hand.